Hey guys, tonight we're diving into medieval peasants had one trick to survive the cold, but it was disgusting. Forget everything Hollywood told you, this is the real story, and trust me, you probably wouldn't last a day. So before you get too comfortable, hit that like button if you enjoy this kind of deep dive, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, dim the lights, maybe grab a snack, though not while I'm talking about this, and let's jump in. You wake up, but it's not your bed. There's no blanket, no heater, no hot cocoa waiting in the kitchen. You're on a straw-stuffed sack, your breath fogging the icy air like you're exhaling ghosts. The frostbite isn't knocking, it's moved in, made itself at home, and is now casually gnawing on your toes. It's 5 a.m., winter, somewhere in 14th century England, and you've got chores to do. You're not a knight, not a lord, you're a peasant, which means your primary skill set is trying not to die, and the cold, it doesn't care. It slinks into your bones, wraps itself around your joints like iron cuffs, and whispers, "Good luck getting through February, buddy." Now, you might be thinking, why not just wear more layers? Great idea, except you own one outfit, and it smells like a mixture of sheep sweat, smoke, and whatever died in the corner of the barn last spring. The fabric, coarse wool, scratchy, damp, smells permanently fermented. You try to add more hay to your shirt for insulation. It itches like medieval fiberglass, and every time you move, it rustles like a walking scarecrow. No gloves, no thermal socks, just fingers so stiff you have to chew on them to feel anything. Still think you could last the night? Okay, but surely they had fireplaces, right? Sort of. If you were lucky, your hovel had a central hearth. If you were really lucky, there was actual wood in it. But trees were valuable. Wood had to be chopped, hauled, dried, or stolen from the Lord's forest, which could get you hanged. So you ration it carefully, one log at a time. You and your entire family huddle around a fire that's more smoke than heat, coughing like chimney sweeps while the wind whistles through the walls, made of literal mud and sticks. And that's when someone says it. The solution, the trick. You hear it and you freeze. Not from the cold, but from pure disbelief. There's a silence, then a shrug, then people start doing it. The one thing that actually kept peasants warm through the bitter, bone-snapping medieval nights. The one trick they all knew. The trick no one talks about, because it was revolting. And they did it every single night. What was it? What could be so effective and so foul? And why did it involve turnips, chamber pots, and your entire family in one bed? So here it is, the trick, the thing that helped medieval peasants survive winter without freezing solid like a chicken left in the snow. Ready? They slept together. No, not like that. Get your mind out of the stocks. I mean everyone in the house. Ma, Pa, the kids, the grandparents, possibly a stray dog, and definitely the lice. Crammed into one bed like a sad, shivering sandwich of humanity. It was called a family bed, and the warmth that came from each other. Not cozy, not cute. This wasn't some wholesome Disney cuddle pile. It was limbs in your face, someone's cold foot permanently wedged between your thighs, and the constant background track of wheezing, farting, and occasional sleep screaming. Now, imagine you've spent all day mucking out pigs, threshing grain, and stepping ankle-deep in mystery slop. No one's bathed in weeks. And now you're nose-tunus with Uncle Gerd, whose breath smells like he's been eating garlic and regret. And here's the kicker. Body heat works. That gross, sweaty, fermented pile of relatives was sometimes the only thing between life and hypothermia. So yeah, Forget down duvets and electric blankets. Medieval survival. It smelled like boiled cabbage and had halitosis. But wait, it gets worse. Let's say you didn't have enough family members to generate heat. Or maybe you did, but one of them had gas issues. What then? Well, peasants had a workaround. They warmed their beds with livestock. That's right, small animals, chickens, dogs, sometimes even a piglet, if it wasn't tomorrow's breakfast. You'd tuck them in at your feet, let them snooze under the covers like little radiators with hooves. And if you're thinking, oh, that sounds kind of sweet, let me clarify. These were not groomed pets. These were half-wild, flea-bitten bundles of noise and dung. Imagine trying to fall asleep while a chicken flaps its wings under your blanket and a goat occasionally bleats from beneath the mattress. And the smell, oh, the smell. Forget Yankee candles. Your bedroom aroma was eau de barnyard, with top notes of mildew, wet fur, and something suspiciously fungal. So now picture this again. It's midnight. You're wedged between your cousin and a pig. Your shirt's stuffed with hay, your toes are wrapped in rags, and the roof just dripped icy water directly onto your forehead. The fire's out. Someone just coughed a little too wetly behind you. You try not to breathe through your nose, and somehow, you drift off to sleep. Because in the world of medieval survival, disgusting was the default. And if it kept you from becoming a human popsicle, you held your nose and got on with it. But here's the thing. This wasn't even the worst part of winter. Because tomorrow, you still had to wake up before sunrise. You still had to face the icy water of the communal well. You still had to use that toilet, the one with the draft that whispered straight up your tunic. And there was one more trick. A last resort. Something so unspeakable, it was whispered only in candlelight. A method so foul, even they hesitated to use it. Unless things got truly desperate. It involved leather, a dead mouse, and something called night soil. But that's another story. So, you've done the cuddle pile. You've embraced the pigfoot warmer. You've accepted that you now permanently smell like a wet tapestry. But let's say the cold still claws at you. You've got chills in your eyelids. Your fingers are stiff as salted fish. And so, someone, maybe that one-eyed guy who swears he used to be a monk, mentions a last-ditch survival method. You laugh. They don't. Because what they're about to suggest makes sleeping in hay and goat urine sound like a luxury spa treatment. You ready? Night soil. It's not a cute nickname. It's medieval for human poop. Yep, people literally collected it. In buckets, in barrels, sometimes to use as fertilizer, but sometimes to keep warm. Here's how it worked. You take a burlap sack. You fill it with straw, and no, I'm not joking, fresh waste. Wrap it tight, plug your nose, and place it near your sleeping spot. Not on you, not quite in bed, but close enough that the natural fermentation process gives off heat. It's a poop-based hot pack. Disgusting, yes. Creative, also yes. Would you do it? I'll let you stew in that thought. Now, some say they added warm animal dung instead, or used steaming compost heaps near the walls. But either way, the scent was legendary. If winter didn't kill you, the aroma might. And we haven't even talked about the leather mouse trick. So picture this. A peasant's boot, old, cracked leather, one sole flapping like it's trying to escape. Inside, a dead mouse. Why? Because, in certain corners of medieval Europe, it was believed that small creatures like mice retained heat after death, just long enough to keep frostbite at bay. So they'd slip one into the toe of their boot like some cursed toe warmer. And you thought Uggs were weird. It probably didn't work. But by that point, you weren't exactly making rational decisions. You were trying to keep your toes from turning black and falling off. And sometimes superstition felt warmer than nothing. But let's say you somehow made it through the night. You're alive, barely. Your nose is numb, your dignity is gone, and there's hay stuck to places hay should never be. And the sun's rising. The frost on the inside of the wall begins to drip. The pig under the blanket farts audibly. Someone sneezes onto your forehead, and you rise, groggy, stiff, smelling like the medieval version of a landfill. Because now you still had to face what came next. What did come next, exactly? Well, let's just say the outhouse situation makes the night soil sack look like scented luxury and breakfast. Let's hope you like boiled roots and maggot bread. You survived the night. Congratulations. You are now officially a human-shaped lump of frozen misery. Your joints crack like dry twigs as you try to sit up, but you can't, because your cousin's leg is still draped across your chest, and the pig has shifted on top of your feet. You wiggle loose, inch by inch, only to slam your head on the wooden beam above you. Classic, the fire, long dead. The air, so cold you can see it. You trudge across the icy floor, avoiding the bucket in the corner. No, not the water bucket, the other bucket. You don't want to know. Your fingers are purple, your breath smells like fermented onion, and your stomach lets out a pitiful growl that sounds like it too has given up on life. Time to eat. Don't get excited. There are no eggs, no bacon, no porridge, unless you're very lucky. You get a bowl of yesterday's cabbage water, reboiled until it's grey and somehow manages to taste like disappointment and wet wood. If you're lucky, there's a hunk of bread. It's so hard you could use it to fight off wolves, or build a house, or both. You soak it in the cabbage water, close your eyes, and pretend it's soup. Someone across the table starts coughing. Someone else casually pulls a beetle out of their mug. No one says anything, because this is just Tuesday. Now here's where things really start to fall apart. Nature calls, and in medieval times, it didn't just call. It yelled through the freezing mist like an angry ghost. So, what are your options? A. Walk barefoot across a frostbitten field to a wooden outhouse that's basically a splintery box balanced over a pit of frozen horrors. B. Use the same chamber pot that everyone else did, which hasn't been emptied in 3 days. C. Don't. You choose B, obviously. You grit your teeth, hold your breath, and make peace with the fact that medieval life is just an endless loop of bodily humiliation. The pot is cold. Your soul leaves your body. You regret everything, but no time to dwell. You've got chores. Fields don't plow themselves. Livestock doesn't feed itself. And your Lord, he still expects taxes, labor, and your firstborn if he's feeling particularly feudal that day. So you trudge out into the snow. No gloves, no boots, just rag-wrapped feet and a dream. A dream that maybe, today the frost won't crack your fingertips open like walnuts. You breathe in the morning air. It smells like chimney smoke, manure, and despair. And that, my friend, is how a medieval peasant starts the day. But don't get too comfortable, because come nightfall, you're doing it all over again. The bed, the pile, the pig, the warm sack, the chicken under your armpit, and maybe, if you're desperate enough, you'll try the wool grease trick. The one no one talks about. The one that involves sheep, fat, armpits, and, oh yeah, open sores. But that's a tale for another frostbitten night. So, the pig didn't help. The family pile was more chaos than comfort. The night soil sack was a low point in your personal dignity timeline. And now, your body aches. Your lips are cracked. Your nose is both frozen and running, a paradox only medieval life could provide. Then, someone, probably old Hilda, the village's self-appointed apothecary, who once tried to cure the plague with boiled frogs, leans in and whispers the words, "Sheep tallow." You pause. She nods, eyes glinting with the sort of knowledge that can only come from years of rural suffering and zero shame. Tallow that's rendered fat, warm, slippery, mildly flammable. "Rub it in," she says, shoving a small clay pot into your hands. Under the arms, behind the knees, between the toes, you open it. The smell is aggressive, a mixture of burnt meat, barn floor, and something vaguely acidic. You hesitate, but your shins feel like ice sculptures and your fingertips have lost all sensation. So you do it. You smear hot sheep grease into your armpits, and for a brief, greasy moment, it works. Warmth, real warmth. Like being hugged by a very oily ghost, but warmth always has a price. Within minutes, you've got flies following you indoors. You slip twice trying to walk, and that goat, the one that never blinks, starts licking your leg like it knows something you don't. By evening, the tallow's turned into a sticky, sour paste. Your clothes are stained. You smell like a rancid stew. And now, you're not even cold anymore. You're just uncomfortable in every direction. But hey, in medieval terms, that's a win. You didn't freeze. You didn't die. You made it through the day with all your toes. Probably, but here's the thing. There was one more trick, rare, desperate, and illegal. The one used by those who couldn't afford hay, grease, or family warmth. The one that involved sneaking into the Lord's manor and lying beneath the floorboards. But if you were caught, you didn't just freeze, you vanished. And if you thought sleeping next to livestock was bad, wait till you find out what lived under the manor. So, next time you complain about your thermostat being off by 2 degrees, just remember, medieval peasants were out here slathering themselves in animal fat, spooning pigs, and dodging frozen outhouses just to not die before sunrise. They didn't have down jackets, or space heaters, or even soap. Let's be honest. They had straw-stuffed shirts, communal body heat, and a tolerance for smells that would knock out a modern-day influencer mid-Instagram reel. And somehow, they made it. Through winters that broke bones and wills. Through cold so deep, it scraped the soul. Because when survival is all you've got, you do what you must. Even if it's disgusting. Especially if it's disgusting. If that blew your mind or your nose, and you want more gritty glimpses into the absolutely unhinged ways humans survived history, subscribe for more cursed comfort, grimy hacks, and tales that make modern life feel like a 5-star resort. Like the video if you'd rather freeze than share a bed with 6 relatives and a chicken, and drop a comment. What's the one modern luxury you could never live without in medieval times? Because trust me, we haven't even touched how they handled lice, or what happened when you ran out of firewood, and your neighbor mysteriously disappeared. See you in the next deep dive, and until then, stay warm, stay weird, and maybe leave a little more appreciation for your blanket tonight. Our next video, we're pulling back the velvet curtain on the woman who ruled an empire while her body was silently betraying her. A queen whose limbs decayed while her power remained absolute. A body rotting in real time while her subjects still bowed and kissed her hand. And after that, we'll meet the Duchess who defied centuries of pressure because she knew her bloodline was a ticking time bomb. You've heard the myths. Now you'll see the real horror hidden behind royal lace and gold leaf. The portraits get darker from here. Alright, you've dimmed the lights. You're cozy. Hopefully not eating. Because where we're going, it smells like damp velvet, gout cream, and the faintest whiff of cousin kissing. You wake up in a stone-cold castle. Drafty halls, everything candlelit. Your corset is 2 sizes too tight. And your husband, oh, he's your uncle, or your nephew, or both. Welcome to European royalty. Let's start with the OG of inbred elegance. Juana of Castile, aka Juana la Loca. Now, people called her mad. But let's be honest, your family tree looked more like a family wreath. You'd probably lose a few screws too. Juana was the daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella Yup, the same ones who financed Columbus, and they thought the best way to keep power in the family was to keep the family in the family. Over generations, repeatedly. Juana's genetics. Think of them like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. By the time she came around, there wasn't much ink left. She married Philip the Handsome. Spoiler alert. Was a stretch, but let's give her credit. She loved him obsessively. Like, carry his corpse around for months obsessively. Yep, that happened. But was that true madness or the slow burn side effect of centuries of DNA playing the world's worst game of Uno? And then there's Maria Anna of Austria. Sweet girl, a Habsburg through and through. Which meant she came with a jawline so prominent it could cut glass, and a gene pool so shallow it made a puddle look deep. At just 14, Maria Anna was married off to her